City Museum, a few times when you go to a place and it changes your life. There was another place called Campilano Park in Vancouver, Canada. That's another place. This is the number you need to know. This is the actual number you will care to know in your future road trips with your family. So this is the actual cost. I've calculated the actual cost for a week-long road trip for a family of 6. And it comes to this number. Are you ready? This is the number. 1.29. 1.29. It comes to $1.29 per mile. That's it. That's what you need to know, right? I'm going to break it down for you. So the last month, my family and I, there's six of us total, mom, dad, 4 children, ages 13 to almost a year old, went on a road trip for the entire Midwest, looking at touring all the children's museums and eating iconic foods in those cities and states. So it's important to tell you our ages because, for instance, my 13-year-old, he can eat like an adult. He eats a good amount, so calculating his costs would be like another meal. And on the flip side, my baby doesn't eat very much, and her admission to the admission would be free. So there's a lot of variables to take into account how I came into this number. Now, there are a lot of numbers I'm going to say as well, and there's lots of variables. So this is a road trip. We used our own car. It wasn't a rental car. We used our wonderful, wonderful 2004 Honda Odyssey. And also we knew ahead of time that this was a trip where many of the nights, so 6 nights, we would, 5 out of the 6 nights, we would stay with relatives or family and friends overnight. We weren't going to do hotel except for one night. But on the flip side, because it was going to be, we're going to lodge with family and friends, we were going to really make use and spend money during the day. We were going to do lots of museums, and those admissions can be pricey, especially times 5, right? And not only that, but we were going to eat out pretty well. We were going to eat at iconic places. If it was going to be a budgeted food trip, we would, go to McDonald's a lot, get the value menu, which I love, or pack a lot of food to bring with us to eat on the road. And so take into consideration those numbers, that it could be different. It could be the same, and then the same. Or now that you know that it's 1.29, $1.29 a mile, you have a range so that for me, in the future, if my husband and I were going to plan on a trip, we're going to go from here to Florida and it's 3,000 miles. I don't know if it's actually 3,000 miles. I'm just saying that, but now I can have a gauge to say, 3,000 times 1.29, that's how much we'll spend on the way to get there. It would be a range from food, from gasoline, to food, to lodging, and for fun. And that brings up to my next point. These are, what I just said are the categories I took into consideration. Again, granted that it's not a rental car, it's your own car, and it's not an airplane, it's your own driving car. These are the categories. Listen up. All right, ready, mamas? And by the way, if you didn't know already, please, this is meant to be listened to a podcast style. You don't have to look at the games, playing the games, but if you want to. But listen to us as a podcast format. Put your phone down and put it on the big volume, or put it on your Siri or Alexa, that you can listen to us in a podcast style version. And we're here every Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. By the way, thanks for tuning in. These are the categories for a road trip. It is, number 1, gasoline. Number 2, food. Food is the second category. The third category is lodging. Where are we going to sleep? The fourth category is fun. I'm going to add a small fifth category that's not included in these calculations, but it's car maintenance and car repair and preparation before going on the road trip. And that needs to be considered because in my situation, we do a fair amount of preparing the car before it goes on a field trip, a road trip. I take it to my Honda Luther dealership. I get a full range of assessments. I typically do the oil change. I might have to change the brakes, new rotors, anything that the mechanic would recommend. I might do some of them if we can afford it. So again, this was over a Monday to a Sunday, and that is 6 nights, 7 days driving. So I'm going to give you the total for each day that we drove per category. By the way, our road trip was we went to Milwaukee, and then we spent 2 nights in Chicago, and then we did St. Louis, Missouri, 2 nights in Kansas, and then we went back home. It was a blast. It was so fun. Who would have thought? I'm a Midwest girl, right? But who would have thought Midwest is so fun? We're so far from the coast, any huge, large attractions, but the Midwest is rich with culture, rich with heritage, rich with history, and the people, it seems slow to change, but in a really good way, since there's lots of mainstays there. Chicago is a huge city with lots of diverse foods, things to do. But Milwaukee was quiet. It's like the smaller version of Chicago. Very quiet, somber. It was beautiful as well. And then St. Louis. Don't get me started on St. Louis. I will tell you about St. Louis. Hang on for that thought. So right off the bat, getting a full tank, heading to Milwaukee for gas, the first day cost us $35.58. That's pretty much like a really full tank of gas for a Honda Odyssey. After that, we stopped at 3 places to eat. We did, 3 places to eat. One of them was a burger place, a butter burger. They put they slab on like a huge amount of butter on a burger. Very cute. I'm glad we did it. We did it on a check-off bucket list now. I can officially say that we did it. The museum, the Milwaukee Children's Museum, it was okay. It was fun. It was right in the city, which made it really, really nice and really beautiful, being right into the city. Now, one thing I should tell you that included with the fun, so food total was $79.83 for the whole day. The fun, it cost $40 for all 5 tickets. My baby girl was free. She was a year under. But one big stinker I've learned about fun that I had to include in the fun category, and you should too, it is parking ramps. Parking ramps, it was $18 to park in the Milwaukee parking ramp for the Children's Museum. I completely forgot about parking ramp, and that needs to be allocated in your fun budget. It could be a really a good amount, anywhere from $10 to $15 to near $30 in Chicago. And not only that, but when you're parked, you got to stay parked. You have to make sure that parking is worth it, that you're there a long duration before you leave and exit the parking lot. Next, in Milwaukee, we stayed with a wonderful auntie and uncle, which I might get into another topic, but when you're there, be a gracious host. My rule of thumb is that I always get them flowers, and I always bring like a meal, not a whole meal, but part of a meal. It could be croissants and sandwich meat, or it could be a rotisserie chicken, and also flowers. I think that's just a really nice way to be a gracious host, a gracious guest. I'm sorry. Chicago was the next one. It was so close to Milwaukee that we spent $0 on gas, but we ate a lot. It's Chicago after all, right? Chicago has a wonderful Koreatown, and we spent like quite a bit of money inside that store. We bought everything to our heart's delight. Again, knowing that we were going to spend those 2 nights with family and friends, again, we really splurged on food. The the Chicago Children's Museum. Sorry, I'm having such a hard time saying children's. Was okay too. It was very similar to Milwaukee. It was like what you think of a children's museum. Very colorful, the oranges, the blues, the blacks, the walking bridges, large plasticky, foamy materials for children to climb on. Talks about how to build a building, how do cultures in other parts of the world live. Very adorable. But hey, it was $25 for parking as well. And Chicago, somehow we ate even more. We went to a couple more places, totaling up to $130. Parking was $20, and we went to a few places that one of them was free, but then I kind of forgot. We went to the Chicago Zoo on Lincoln Park, but that didn't cost anything. Oh, I remember. Oh my gosh. Two times we had to pay for parking for free places. Millennial Park was $20, and then the Lincoln Park Zoo was $36, or it might be flipped around. That was $56 just for parking alone for one day. You really got to take that into account. St. Louis. So St. Louis, we drove there, $31.57 for gas. We ate 2 times. And the big thing was that we got a hotel. We got a hotel at the Embassy Suites for a family of 6. It was $180, so that took a big chunk. And it also made me realize just how much lodging can take up. It takes up a big chunk of your money. So if you can somehow curb your lodging, you could really have fun with your fun category and with food. And for me, I'm not sure what your idea of fun is, but I really do enjoy eating out in local places. I'm not a concert person. I'm not take a tour history museum person. I really get a kick out of trying out the food in the local area. Tell me what you think. I would love to know what your idea of fun is. Some people do the beach. I mean, I would go, but I wouldn't die to go to the beach. And then Kansas City was our next stop 2 times. And those 2 places we stayed with wonderful, wonderful relatives. By the way, St. Louis, my wonderful friend Ting, she helped pay for our dinner, which was so sweet of her. And we had a really good time catching up. Well, but back to St. Louis, they had a place called City Museum. It's right in the heart of St. Louis. You know where the arch is? City Museum, a few times when you go to a place and it changes your life. There was another place called Campilano Park in Vancouver, Canada. That's another place. After that is City Museum in St. Louis, out of all places, right in the middle of the country. I never thought a museum could be so magical, whimsical, so fun, so, again, whimsical. I keep thinking whimsical. I keep thinking of Charlie, the Chocolate Factory, that movie. It completely changed my mind. It was so fun, and I didn't even get to see all of it because it was that big. Try Googling it or email me or comment below if you want to know more about City Museum. That place changed my life. And nearing the end of our trip, the last day of Kansas City, we ate out a bit. Kansas City has a wonderful, like an open farmer's market, but I think they call it open market, something like that. It's open all year round. During the warmer months, the farmers bring out their produce, but even during the colder months, on the side, there's a lot of food vendors all along, like 2 sides of a building adjacent to each other, and they have everything from gyros to hamburgers to Philly, some more like fancier gastro sandwiches places, ice creams, crepes, po' boys, and we kind of just went all out too, and had a really great time going to the open market in Kansas City. Each of those places, when we stayed with our host, again, I make it a great effort to buy something special for the host and also a meal. On the drive back, it took $27.02 full of gas to go back home. So totaling up, are you ready? This is the number that you've been waiting for. How did I get to $1.29 per mile? So our entire trip, it was kind of like a raindrop shape, starting from Minneapolis, going down to Milwaukee, Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, and back up. The mileage came to 1,409 miles. And you can thank my son for calculating those miles. And then our total expense, this is what you really want to know. Our total expense, let me mouse down, for a trip, including gas, which my other son calculated how much we spent on gas, food, lodge, and fun. And remember, fun has to include parking ramps. Total travel cost came to $1,819.25. Divided that by the miles, came to $1.29 per mile. That is the number, that's the range I will use for future road trips. Granted, if you're going to use your own car, no, I now know that if we're going to go to Wisconsin or South Dakota or Branson, Missouri, or all the way to New York, I'll now know a really good range to further along our budget. And this will be a great use to you. Let me know what you think. How do you budget your trips? Where have you gone that you loved? Please tell a friend about our channel. It really takes growth to make this channel work. Tell one friend, listen to us on your phone, and listen to it podcast style. You don't have to look at the screen the whole time. This is Mom Gamers, and this is for you fellow mamas. Thanks for listening. Bye.